Morning. We're here with our 1978 AMF Sunfish Sugar 2. Today we want to talk a little bit about repairing the hull and what types of epoxies or fillers or fiberglass might be used for different types of repairs. So you get a general question asked about what do I need to repair my hull? It's like, well, it depends on what's wrong with it. We'll start off with a little bit talking about what the hull is made out of. It's made out of this called woven roving, this thick fiberglass, which is what makes up most of the thickness in the hull here. The hull it's made in reverse order. They spray the outside inside of mold. They use a gel coat, spray that in there first, and then the little worker would come in and get this woven roving and get it all saturated with, back in the day they used polyester resin, and then they lay that inside the mold and everything dries up. They pop it out of the mold and stick the top half and the bottom half together. So if you get to the point where you got a hole in it, depends on how big your hole is. Sometimes you get just little stress cracks in the gel coat where there's no actual damage to the fiberglass underneath it. Sometimes the damage goes through the gel coat into the fiberglass underneath it. In that case, you need to repair or reinforce that fiberglass. If it's just a little scratch or maybe a little puncture, you can put some thickened epoxy in it, seal it up. Or in the case of up here where we had a pretty decent little void in the hull that was all the way through the fiberglass, you can put some thickened epoxy in there to repair that little void. And then we added another piece of 4-inch fiberglass cloth across the top of it to just, I call it a band-aid, just to act as a little extra protection there, because this keel does take a lot of abuse as it's dragged on and off of trailers and beaches and those kind of things. So if you got a big hole missing, a big chunk of your hull is gone, then you probably need to take out the broken parts, and you can tell where it's all chippy, or if the fiberglass, this has a nice clear look to it. If it's cloudy, then it's crushed and it should be pulled out and repaired. And then in most cases, like if you get a damage here, you need to put some kind of backer patch in from inside, either by putting the patch in made up of cardboard and this roving mat or several layers of this cloth, and pull it in with epoxy on it, let that set, and then rebuild the fiberglass on top of it, either with a piece of roving or by cut several different pieces of the fiberglass cloth and build up layers back to or just under the thickness of the hull. And then you can come in and put some fairing compound on it. And so I'm using these terms that I wasn't familiar with when we first started doing this, but people were kind enough to explain to me what they were. So you're like, fiberglass, all right, what's that consist of? Well, you got to have a piece of cloth, depending on how big your repair is. And then you need something to glue all that together, to paste it together, which is what the skipper likes to do. There's a lot of systems out there. There's System 3. There's West Systems, probably the most popular. The one we use a lot is made by Jamestown Distributors, Total Boat Thixo. And you've also got Pettit has a good system of both epoxy and fairing compounds. So what I don't have right now to show you are cans of, like, why am I saying epoxy versus polyester? Well, that's what's commonly used in industry today. The system is a part epoxy resin and part hardener to make the epoxy harden and become a solid surface. So for example, in this tube here, there's two parts. There's a resin and a hardener. Same in this tube here. There's a resin and a hardener, and you put it in your little caulk gun and you squeeze it out, and then you go to work. This particular epoxy is already thickened with an additive. Basically, you'll hear people saying micro balloons or adhesive fillers. This is a type you'd use with West System. So this particular tube of Thixo here is low viscosity, so what you're getting out of here is epoxy and hardener that's real thin and drippy and pours almost like water. This thickened epoxy out of the flex epoxy, you're going to get something that's more like paste, like a ketchup or a peanut butter consistency. So if you need to fill a little bit bigger hole, it'll fill that hole and stay there. It won't just drip off or run off inside the hole or somewhere else. So let's forget about, don't forget about fairing compound. We want to make it look pretty afterwards, and we want to sand it down. So we have this is a two-part product called Easy Fair that has an epoxy base and a hardener, and also some softer additives in it that are easy to sand. You can also get harder additives that are more towards a structural repair. So we'll back up to the very beginning. You're looking at a hole in your boat, and you're trying to figure out, geez, is that structural or is that just a little, hole that's poked somewhere where it doesn't really matter? And that will drive you towards whether you're just trying to fair it to make it smooth and make it look pretty again, or whether you're trying to repair it with one of these two types of products here. And then from there you can determine if you need a thicker bit of fiberglass cloth or woven roving, or there's some chopped mat that's out there. Where it's not something we really use, don't know that I'd really recommend it on repairs for this boat. These are after about 30 plus sunfish, these are the two things we find ourselves using. Either this thicker roving for a big hole, or this thinner 4-ounce cloth for just a little smaller touch-up type repairs. Let's go back to talk about these little stress cracks in the gel coat. Do we need to do anything to those? Well, not if the boat's not leaking here, then our answer is usually no. I mean, I know y'all see us paint a lot of boats and make them all pretty, and you don't see stress cracks anywhere, but you got to think about where the hull started in the first place. It was basically they're usually in such bad shape that the dump wouldn't take them. So if we get one that's like this, so we're not going to do anything to that right there, because that's just like a scratch, like a little ding in your car. Like a little door ding is what basically kind of what that is. There's no damage to the fiberglass underneath it. If you look here, you can see how thin the gel coat layer is. And now this is two layers here. This is the hull, the bottom of the boat, and then the layer on the bottom there with the boat flipped up is the part of the cockpit liner. So there's a lot of fiberglass under this gel coat. So if you start seeing these little types of things on there, don't worry about it. They happen just with age sometimes. Just like the paint is there. The paint's there on your car to make it look pretty and to protect the metal from rusting. And that's essentially the same reason there's gel coat over fiberglass on a boat. So that's some of the basics. May have just confused everyone more than helped them, but your repair, once again, is going to take some type of epoxy. If you know what polyester resin is and you've used it and you liked it, then go for it. We're mainly talking to folks that have never tried to repair a little hole on a boat before, and the most popular on the market, most widely available from different folks, are these epoxy resins. They're not the cheapest. If you want to buy a big bucket of polyester resin, if that's the way you want to roll, and go for it. Do it that way. All of these products here, you can pick up the phone and call our buddies at Jamestown Distributors and order them on the phone or online, or run down to West Marine or one of your other favorite marine stores if you got one handy, and pick them up. We use a lot of these flex epoxy, and now we're using the Thixo brand, which also has a thickened epoxy that come in the caulk tubes, because we don't have to pour stuff in a cup and measure it out. and decide if we have the right hardener amount and the right resin amount. We just stick it in the caulk tube and squeeze it out onto a little piece of cardboard. Or there's also little mixer tubes that go on top of the tube, and you squeeze it out. It's already mixed. It's in the right ratio, and you just squeeze it directly onto the repair surface that you want to work on. The tubes run anywhere from $15 or so a tube for the thick sew to $25 or so for the flex epoxy. So if you got a big repair to do, then you might end up buying the separate cans of resin and hardener with the pump system and mixing it that way. So breaking it down, there's the actual repair, which is usually done with the epoxy compounds, and then the actual making it look pretty after you plug the hole with some type of fairing. And this is Pettit Easy Fair is one way to do it. Mixing in some colloidal silica or micro balloons, which is a softer compound of sand, with your West system or thick sew. Also has a total fair, which looking around up in my, it's 2-part soft fairing compound with the, comes with the hardener and the resin. You mix it up. There's 2 colors. I can't remember the colors. 2 colors get mixed together, and once they're all the same color, then you can start using a putty knife or something else to get it onto your thing. Hey, here's those little foam rollers I was looking for. So that's some of the basics. If you got questions, just post them in the comments below, and we'll answer, or we'll point out to you on one of the boats what what we've actually done with the multiple repairs we've done. So hope y'all having a good day. Goodbye.